Welcome to part 4 of the Folklore of Western Australia. If you enjoy this series, have a look in the description below, where you'll find links to all the other episodes. The first couple of stories come from the tiny little wheat belt town of Popanyinning. The first is titled Dying to Be Together. In 1942, Mrs. Lindsay, who was living in Popanyinning, suddenly passed away from a heart attack. Her husband, who was working in Bindoon, died the very same day of the same condition. The two hearses bringing the departed to Pingelly to be identified arrived outside the police station at exactly the same time. When Mr. Spragg built the first store in Popanyinning in 1904, he sited it in an area he thought might have been flood prone, so he built it on stilts. When the railway came through, the surveyors informed him that he had to move the shop, which he did, relocating it some short distance to the west. As there had been no floods, he built the new shop on firm footings, with the idea that it would be there permanently. The surveyors, however, had different ideas. Sometime later, when the main road was being put through, the surveyors again informed Mr. Spragg that he had to move his shop because it was 3 feet too far forward. Fed up with constantly having to shift his premises, Mr. Spragg simply got out a saw and cut off the first 3 feet of the building. The next story comes from the little southwest town of Donnybrook, that's sometimes incorrectly credited with the development of the Granny Smith apple. The Granny Smith, like many other varieties of fruit, seems to have been a happy accident. Maria Ann Sherwood Smith developed the apple from an apple core that was thrown away, and the seeds germinated, or so the story goes. The new variety of apples were first popular in New South Wales, and their arrival in Donnybrook also seems to have come about by chance. A Mr. Chapman was dealing with a nursery in New South Wales, and as part of a consignment he was sent, there were a couple of new apple trees sent for him to try out. The trees did well in Donnybrook, and the green apples they produced were good for both cooking and eating. The apples were first known locally as Chapman's Late. Cuttings were taken and grafted to other apple trees. The Park brothers brought in a further 175 trees from New South Wales, and soon the Granny Smith apple came to dominate apple production in the area. The apple that was really developed in Donnybrook was the less well-known Lady Williams. This is a red apple, and again seems to have come about by accident, when a seed germinated and came up near a water tank. The tree was almost killed twice, being pulled out of the ground on one occasion. The Williams family persisted with the tree and gradually developed a new type of apple from this original sapling. Our next story is a little more recent than most and is called Down the Well. In 1978, 3-year-old Julie Stiles fell through the rotten wooden cover of a well on the family property. She was being looked after for the day by her aunt, 62-year-old Mona Stiles. Mona jumped down the well after the child, but was then trapped 28 feet down. Julie's sister, Robin, who was just 5 years old, was the only other person around, and Mona called to her and asked her to phone for help. She was unable to work out how to use the phone, and Mona was left clinging to a pipe in the well while trying to support Julie. After an hour in the cold water, Mona's hands were going numb. But luckily, Julie's parents arrived home just in time, and a rescue was effected with a length of rope. Very soon afterwards, little Robin was taught how to use the phone. Our next story is called Icy Cold. There was a train that once transported gold shipments from Meekatharra to Perth, and the security guards were always locked into the hot, stuffy rail car. One day they smuggled aboard a bottle of whiskey. They asked the train guard if there was any ice. He returned soon afterwards with a nice cool lump. It melted quickly as they consumed the alcohol, so they asked for some more. This went on until the bottle was almost empty. And when they asked again, the guard replied, "Sorry lads, I can't give you any more. The body is starting to show." The last story in this episode concerns Dom Savado. Dom Savado was one of the men who helped establish the New Norcia mission. The story is called Dodgy Damper. On one occasion, while Dom Savado was exploring the area around New Norcia, he had a couple of Aborigines with him as assistants. The small party had run out of water, but they had a plentiful supply of flour, sugar and tea. Before pitching camp for the day, Dom Savado instructed the two men to go in one direction while he went in the other to look for water. Dom Savado searched for some time without success and returned to camp to find the two assistants had started a campfire and were cooking damper. When the damper was cooked and the three men had all eaten, Dom Savado asked if there was any tea. The men replied that they had not found any water, so Dom Savado asked how they had managed to make the damper. One of the men simply scooped up some flour into his mouth and began to mix it with his spittle. Ejecting the mass of flour into his hand, he said, "That way make 'em damper." Well, that's it for another episode. If you like the stories on here, please give the video a thumbs up. It helps promote the videos on YouTube. And if you like this or any of the other videos we make on this channel, please subscribe, because that helps to raise our profile, and if we get more people watching, YouTube will tell more people about us. Thanks again for watching, and hope to see you back again here soon. Cheers.